Congratulations, Purdue, for a 77-71 victory today. Great game. Exactly how I thought it would go. Two teams that are a lot closer than some want you to think that they are. Uh, 77-71. A little lower scoring than we were expecting. But I've got to say, I think Illinois played as good a defense as they have in some time. And that's a positive thing that I'm looking at. One second. It's I have my partner Austin join me in a second. Illinois had a very solid first half. I think we played as well as we could have. I think we were up 6 or something like that, and that's essentially without Terrence Shannon Jr. Second half, things changed a little bit, and I'm going to be very careful with the words that I choose. And feel free to comment and let me know what you think of this game, because I certainly have my opinions. And I thought I was being very nice yesterday when it comes to my game preview. Uh, I'm not sure I want to be as nice right now. I'm going to go ahead and add on my co-host, my partner in crime, Austin. Austin, how are you?
Doing well. Exiting the State Farm Center after this loss to Purdue, but I can't be mad. I really
Exactly.
can't be.
All right,
It
we got the
was,
same mood. By the way, Austin and I have not talked. So what
yeah.
his impressions right now and my impressions are absolutely genuine and unknown to each other.
As you can see, I walked right out of the State Farm Center into my car, and it literally was a game of three bounces. It felt like there was
Yeah.
some extremely high balls that went in the air, and Illinois did not come down with them, and there were some second chance opportunities for the Purdue Boilermakers. I looked at the defense that Illinois played in that building right behind me, and I could not be more proud of what Illinois accomplished tonight
That's
against a
exactly what
guy
I just said.
like
Yeah.
Zach Edey and Mason Gillis um, and Lance Jones. I cannot be upset about the performance that took place. Yes, there was a cold stretch, but I mean, this was the first cold stretch in what? How many games, Sonny?
Right. Yeah. No, you're exactly right. It's again, I don't know what you caught before you jumped on, but I literally just said the same thing. Purdue, you forget they're, I think, number 2 in the country in offensive efficiency all year long. This is a very good offensive team, and this is I talked about the score being over under being 200 for this game, thinking that both offenses would show out, and really, I cannot in no way am I upset with the way Illinois played defense today. And this is not just me talking. I genuinely think that we had a performance that actually, in my eyes, may have raised the ceiling for what this team can accomplish in March. Playing what I consider the best team in the country to their limits. As you said, there's a couple bounces that went the other way. There's a couple, referee whistles that could have gone either way. And ultimately to have it a 77-71 loss, I'm not happy, but man, like I'm not feeling too sad either.
I mean, at the very end of the game, Foster Lawyer took a very questionable 3-point shot. And if that is missed and Illinois scores a 3-pointer, we're talking about a tie ball game. We're not even on the air yet. We're seeing overtime between Purdue and Illinois, and you just happened to nail that shot, and then that became a 6-point game. So I look at this performance, and this is what high level basketball is. Sometimes it goes your way, sometimes it doesn't. And tonight it didn't go Illinois' way, but this gives me a lot of optimism for the NCAA tournament
Hmm.
because you're going to deal with some tough offenses, and Purdue is one of the toughest they have because of Zach Edey and the 3-point shooting that Purdue Boilermakers possess. Illinois was able to nip that in the bud for most of the game. So I really come out of this game more optimistic than pessimistic, even though it resulted in a loss.
For some reason, the comments aren't showing up on my EV Mux right now, but we do have a couple comments in, so I just want to highlight them. Finger sleeves. Thank you very much for tuning in tonight. If Illinois plays the rest of the season like this, I'm good. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean we went toe to toe with, again, what I consider the best team in the country, and a couple bounces this way, a couple referee whistles that way, and the result could have been reversed. And I think if this is a team that shows up, we're not going to shoot like that again. Or we may, but I mean, this was our, as you said, our worst offensive output in a very,
we were
very long
4 for
time.
16 from the 3-point line. That doesn't happen often for this
Right.
Illinois basketball team.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, it does suck that you kind of wasted a Quincy Guerrier game into loss. He had 12 points, but just the fact that he played that well offensively, that is more of a positive to me than the end results of this game. Like, I was shocked how I walked out of this arena because I made the drive from Southern Illinois, a 3.5 hour drive to come to this game.
Oh wow.
And if you would have told me that there would be a loss, I would have been so distraught. But the way that Illinois played, the way that they just kind of took advantage and took control of this game at times was so positive against the number 3 team in the country. We were waiting for a performance like this. We did not want another 95-91 kind of style game. And that's what we got. We got a strong defensive effort today. And I could not be more impressed by this Illini basketball team, even with a loss.
We have 37 people watching us right now, Austin. If anyone who's watching who's not liked and subscribed, we do this at the end of every single game. So give us a follow. Share this content with fellow Illini friends. We also have another comment from On the Mark. And you know what? I actually agree with this one. Halftime adjustments hurt us. Why did Brad go away from letting Edey being their only offense? They started doubling and gave everyone else confidence. 3 points is more than 2 points. Now, this was actually one of my keys to victory in the first game. I talked about how you just got to let Edey be Edey. Let him get his monster 35 points. Let him get his 16 rebounds, whatever. But you try to shut down everyone else. And I did see that happening in that first half. Edey was having his way, but I think at one point he had 14 points and the rest of his teammates had 14 points. And certainly at some point in the second half, we kind of shifted our strategy a little bit. Braden Smith, one of the best point guards in the country, made some really clutch shots. All credit to him. You see why he's going to get the accolades that he's going to be getting, and it's going to be a pain in our rear in the Big Ten for the next couple of years. But the adjustment, I just don't know if it was needed. I'm very curious to hear. Obviously, we go live with you guys immediately, so we don't get to hear the Underwood post game. But Austin, do you have any thoughts on that?
I mean, I completely understand where he was coming from, but you know me, I'm an analogy guy. And this reminded me of the 2017 Chicago Cubs. Remember in the Washington Nationals Chicago Cubs series where Joe Madden walked Bryce Harper every single at bat that took place? It didn't matter what the situation was. Bryce Harper was getting walked.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of how the first half played because Zach Edey was getting his 2 points. The rest of the team was struggling mightily offensively. And in second half, you decided to throw a beam down the middle to Bryce Harper, and he took it for a grand slam. And I think this is kind of what happened here is that you kind of change your strategy a lot, and that turned into the 3-point shots being made, and Zach Edey kind of let his teammates handle his business for the minute, and I just did not like that. Um, but I completely understand where Brown Underwood was coming from, because you got to take away your most efficient offensive player for Purdue, and that was Zach Edey. And then this is the result. But again, I don't think that that should happen, but I can see why Brown Underwood did it.
Can you imagine the uproar if Coleman Hawkins stared down Edie or any opposing player the way Edie did twice in that second half?
See, I was up in the 200 level, so I didn't really see that too terribly much from a zoomed in look. What was Zach Edey doing, really?
You'll see. Like basically, he rejected Coleman twice. Obviously, if you recall that in the second half, and
Mm-hmm.
while Hawkins is on the ground, Edie, instead of really going back on offense, just kind of stood there staring down at him, which is extra hilarious because you were at the game, so you didn't get to see these clips. But that second block of a dunk attempt that Coleman had was all hand. That was There was hardly any ball touched on that. That was a clear foul, but one of those that just was kind of missed by the referees. But at the conclusion of the play, Purdue goes the other way, except for Edie. Edie just kind of sits there and looks down on Coleman Hawkins, the angel Edie, which I've realized this. I keep saying nice things about Purdue, but their fan base is kind of like Notre Dame level smugness. It's all of our coach. He doesn't complain. Our coach, he's so respectful at all times. Look how classy Zach Edey is going over to Gene Katie at the end of the last game. Blah blah blah. It's the level of lack of humility by that fan base is something which is, I guess, I'm starting to get more aggravated by. Um, People were upset with the "fu Edie" chants. They're they're college
I
kids.
can't be upset with that. That's a college student
This
being
is
a college
college
student.
kids. Yeah, exactly. This is what happens when you go into opposing stadiums. Like, are you telling me you go to Mackey and the student base there is just all nice and friendly all the time? No, it's two fan bases having fun with each other. This is a compliment to Zach Edey. Zach Edey's the best player in college basketball for 2 years running. He's got a certain level of respect that he gets from the crowd, and that antagonization is really out of pure respect.
I mean, I can't wait to see what the Ken Palm ratings are for Illinois after this game, because I really think they might go up. Um, because defensively, this was such a great performance against such a high offensive efficiency team. So I'm excited to see what the defensive efficiency ratings look like after this game. I know we were damn near 100 after these games against Minnesota and the like. So I really can't wait to see what happens after this game. But going back to your point of Zach Edey and Matt Painter was complaining a lot. I was looking at him
The
after
entire
every
game.
single Zach Edey possession, and he was like, "Foul! There was hands! There was hands! Come on!"
The
Like,
entire game.
yes,
No, it's funny because Russ from the Boiler Express podcast was complaining that pregame Underwood complains to the referees a lot. Blah blah blah. About complaining about Edie before the game started, and then I made a tweet. Five of the first six fouls were on Purdue, or sorry, were on Illinois in this game. And I made that tweet, simple as that. And he responded by saying something along the lines of, "Well, Underwood cried to the refs, and it's evened out a little bit," which made me laugh for two reasons. Is because if you're watching the game at home like I was, you every time Painter was on the screen, he was yelling or complaining to a ref saying non-foul or that's a foul, blah blah blah. And second, it's gotten to the point where Purdue fans use it as a bragging point when the foul differential is even. I thought that it's just like, see, it's not that much in our favor. It's actually even today. And that they claim as a point of pride.
yeah, it was 17 fouls for Purdue, 15 fouls for Illinois, and I still think that Illinois got the short end of the stick here. And that's not me um, being just a crybaby here, or a Cody crybaby, as Dwayne the Rock Johnson would say. Um, but I do feel like Illinois did get the short end of the stick, foul wise and officiating wise, at points. But there was one indication that gave me a little bit of pause, just the slightest, because
Let's hear it.
I've been in favor of what Illinois has been doing offensively. There was a lot of trepidation to shoot the ball tonight. I mean, there were moments where Luke Goody was open and he was scared to death. He passed that ball right away to the corner and wasn't going to shoot that baseline 3-point shot.
Mm-hmm.
And there were times where Terrence Shannon Jr. was scared a little
Yeah.
bit to make the big shot. Justin Harmon wasn't. Amani Hansberry for a possession was not, but that's not the
I
two
wish
guys.
they were.
Yes, that's not the guys that you want to be overly confident that they can make that 3-point shot. But
Yeah. Yeah.
some of the guys that you count on to make 3-pointers, if you're not shooting the ball, Luke Goody, what are you doing? Like, you may rebound the basketball well, but that's your only two big positives as an Illini basketball player right now. So there
Especially
was
after
some,
like
yeah,
he made that his first 3-pointer. I
yeah,
thought it was straight ahead. I thought, okay, that's going to get him going. I really felt like we could have used a nice Goody game. Our friend Russ, again, who I just mentioned, chimes in. Illinois called for 15 fouls. Purdue called for 17.
yep,
Well, yeah, I know. I get it. Now, again, let's address the fact that Matt Painter the entire time is in the ref's ears. Uh, Anytime he was on screen, like I usually rewatch these games anyway. The very next day, thank you YouTube TV. I don't know if I can on Peacock actually. I don't know if I will,
yeah, you can.
but
It's just like a WWE pay per view. You can watch.
perfect. So maybe just for fun, I'll just kind of mark down every time Painter's on that screen and he's talking to a ref. This is a foul. Nope, that's not a foul because the Messiah Matt Painter, the angelic guy that the counter opposite of Brad Underwood is not what was on screen today. And again, no one's really complaining about. No one's saying the officiating was the deciding factor of this game. I don't think I've said it yet. We've been on for 18 minutes. A couple bounces went their ways, especially at the end. I forgot who that Purdue guy who just took that horrible shot with like
I
20
believe that was
seconds left.
Foster Lawyer or Braden Smith, one of the
Yeah,
two.
one of those. No, it wasn't Braden Smith because Braden Smith is the one who basically didn't he answer with a 3-pointer right then and there.
That's
Uh,
right.
so it wasn't Braden Smith. But that bounce, just the fact that it went straight to the Purdue guy instead of us having a chance to be, down 3, but with the ball with 20 seconds left.
No, it was Braden Smith. Made 3-point shots, 77-71.
Yeah, he was the one who made the 3.
Yep.
But didn't somebody else pass it to him? I think someone else had the rebound and then passed it to Braden Smith who nailed it.
Fletcher Lawyer had an offensive rebound.
Right. All right. Brad P chimes in. And again, sorry guys, for some reason the comments aren't showing up on my stream here. So I luckily I have it pulled up on my phone and I'll try to be keeping up. Brad P says, seemed like all the balls bounced right to Purdue in the last 2 minutes on those offensive rebounds. A lot of them did, sure. And again, that's why I really thought I was going to be very upset coming onto the stream today.
There was one thing that I didn't agree with Brad Underwood here in terms of rotation use. I don't know why he shied away from Dane Danger for Amani Hansberry. Amani Hansberry had 4 fouls, didn't do much offensively. Dane Danger was 2 for 2, only 2 fouls. I know you needed a little bit more athleticism from the 4/5 position, but I think this could have been a more of a Dane Danger game. And he did some good things against Zach Edey, I thought.
I thought
And
so too. I completely
And
agree.
so I think he shied away from Dane a little bit too early, thinking like, oh, he's not getting it done against Zach Edey. We need to change things around a little bit, add some fouls to Amani Hansberry. But I thought Dane was handling the job pretty well.
I think Dane had a great game. I left a link in the comment section. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see it or not because I don't know if this is working. But if anyone wants to jump on with us, feel free to do so. I thought Dane, and I think I kind of understood what Brad was doing. He was trying to match Edie up with a fellow big body.
Yeah.
Just a big physical guy. And I think, Amani Hansberry, he was about to set a record for quickest time of fouling out once he got into the game. But at least he's a big body, and I think the hope was that he could kind of duplicate what Dane was doing. But Dane's been in college basketball for 3 years now, and he kind of knows the tips and tricks. And Amani Hansberry, you can tell, was a little green, and he got called for foul after foul, which, I mean, it happens. It happens. But yeah, I mean, you can't complain about Dane today. I thought Dane had a really solid game. He was bothering Edie. Not maybe not bothering Edie, but he wasn't making it easy for Edie, as easy as he usually has it.
Yeah, and I mean, offensively, Terrence Shannon Jr., 11 points, 0 for 4 from the 3-point line. Those kind of games don't happen for Terrence. 3 for 13 from the field, only 2 fouls in the first half, and I think those first half fouls kind of changed the way that Terrence played a little bit. So I think offensively, you won't see a lot of Terrence Shannon Jr. games like this. And again, that's why I can't be too mad. If Terrence Shannon Jr. scored 31 points and Illinois still lost, then that's whenever I would have a little bit of an issue. You're going to have bad games from your star players at times. And sometimes this is a result of that. You lose 77-71 in the Big Ten. And so, again, this is a game that feels like I should be way angrier at. I'm normally the pessimist of us two in this game, in this podcast for the Illini cast, and I'm trying to be so pessimistic, but I can't. I can't.
Yeah.
This was a tough game. This is a game that'll give you some good hardened skin for March and for the Big Ten tournament, and this is a game that Illinois needed to play in, and they succeeded quite a bit over the stretch of this game. So I can't be too mad, Sonny.
Because I mean,
It's kind
we
of
talk
wild.
about like one of the big arguments against Illinois, and one of like the I was listening to a Purdue preview show. I think it was yesterday morning, and one of the arguments that uh, their words were essentially like, and they weren't really afraid of this Illinois team, was that we haven't played tough competition, that we haven't beaten anyone good yet, and in some manner of respect, like I was trying to understand the angle that they came from. And I mean, I watched this game today, and again, it depends on a couple bounces going one way or the other. I don't think in any sort of way that Purdue fans or Purdue was clearly a dominant team over Illinois.
No,
A slightly better team, yes, sure, but I said it in yesterday's preview show. I think if the teams play 5 times, Illinois wins 2 of them.
I mean,
And my opinion hasn't changed after watching this game.
it's kind of like the 04-05 Illini. I mean, that Michigan State team that year with Shannon Brown was a very, very talented Big Ten team, but they just could not overcome the Illinois Fighting Illini. And they were
Mhm.
still an Elite Eight team that year. They were an inch away of Shannon Brown's foot of making the Final Four and possibly taking on Illinois in the national championship game. So this isn't a heartbreak for Illinois. It was a slight chance that you would win the Big Ten regular season title because Purdue still had to lose Wisconsin
Right. Yeah.
as well. So this is a game that Illinois needed to happen. This is a game that Illinois fell short in, yes, but in this is a team that kind of showcased what they can do against a dominant team, against a UConn, against a Houston, against a team that you might face in the Elite Eight or the Sweet 16 to go to your final destination of a Final Four. And I think that it very well could happen for this Illini basketball team.
We have Dylan Kuhn also from the Boiler Express podcast with a bunch of choo choo train emojis. Thank you for your contribution. Jeff Mish, you still haven't beaten anyone yet. Again, that awesome, classy Purdue fan base chiming in into an Illinois podcast. Thank you so much for giving
That's
us
the Big
those
Ten for
watches.
you. We
Yeah,
are the dominant rivals of the Big Ten,
yeah,
Illinois and Purdue. I
yeah.
take it as as a pride point that you would go on to an Illinois podcast after the game and not celebrate, but
No,
to
no, yeah.
lather in the awfulness of the loss for your Big Ten opponent. I take it as a pride point. Thank you for coming on.
He follows it up. So even after losing at home, you think you would beat Purdue 2 out of 3. Now I don't know if you know how it works.
2 out of 5 isn't 2 out of 3. There, Mister Purdue
Well, I
fan.
think there's 3 games left, and he called me delusional. Again, thank you so much, Jeff. Thank you so much.
Listen. If we win, if we match up in the Big Ten championship or in the NCAA tournament, we're gonna get one of these. So
Mhm,
congratulations if you win the 2 in the regular
mhm,
season. We are
mhm.
going to take one whenever it firmly matters. Whether it's a Terrence Shannon Jr. awesome game or another Marcus Damask game where he scored 20 points. Maybe he'll get 24 and Illinois will win a game against Purdue. I mean, again, we're going to win 1 or 2 of these games out of 5. And this isn't a sweep situation.
Okay, so Russ Johnson chimes in. Purdue has won 5 straight in the dominant rivalry. Now Russ actually does this a lot because I did a Purdue preview yesterday, and then he responded with an Purdue, like his own show, and he responded to none of my points, and like basically created his own points. Russ, no one says that this. What Austin is saying is that Illinois and Purdue are two of the best teams in the conference, and that in itself, that's why there's so much vitriol. So again, I don't know if you're having a bad 24 hours of understanding what we're saying, because a lot of your points yesterday or in your show today, I never said anything about Matt Painter not being the best coach in the conference. In fact, if you watch that, I literally kept saying he's the best coach in the conference, and you kept comparing him to Brad Underwood. Why? I don't know. Anyways, back to the game. Um, Brad P says time to watch Morez Johnson highlights. We can't even do that.
Really?
Yesterday he got
Really?
owned a little bit.
We have a Big Ten tournament and an NCAA tournament that we're
Yeah.
going to be a number 2 seed in and a number 4 or 5 seed in this NCAA tournament.
Well, we do have to beat Iowa in order to lock in number 2. Because if Northwestern sweeps their remaining schedule, then and if we lose to Iowa, they actually jump us because they beat Purdue this year.
We're going to get a bye at least, okay?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, we've locked in
so
that double
double
bye.
bye.
Yeah.
So, plus a 4 or 5 seed in this NCAA tournament. There's a lot to play for. When you have a guy like Terrence Shannon Jr. on your team, yes, he had a bad game here. We're going to be just fine. Yes, this was a bad moment for Illinois basketball, but we didn't get pummeled. We
I don't
had
think it was
3
bad.
bounces of the ball,
Yeah, it was.
and we win that game.
Mhm. Yeah. So now that, well, I
I
guess
don't think I've
no,
ever been this fired up, Sonny, in the positive sense of the podcast.
right, right. Yeah, especially you.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to the comments. Folks usually say you're the negative one, and you're pretty happy. I don't know if happy is the right word. I think both you and I are
I'm
content
pretty
with what we
content.
just saw.
I'm
Yeah,
content for where Illinois basketball's at.
exactly.
This
If we
wasn't a game
use,
where I walked out of Illinois lost by 25, and then that's when the negative energy would start coming. But this was a game you lost by 6. There was 2 possessions where they hit deep 3-pointers or an offensive rebound bounced their way to an open 3-point shot. If those don't happen, Illinois wins this game, or at least we're in overtime, and who knows what happens there. So this isn't a game where you can be ultra negative about the outcome. Yes, it sucks that we lost, but really, what were we playing for versus Purdue? Because Purdue's not losing to Wisconsin. We've seen Wisconsin and their defense against great offensive teams, and Purdue's going to upend Wisconsin. They're going to win the Big Ten tournament, Big Ten title anyway for the regular season. So, again, this was a great outcome when you only lose by single digits. And I can't be too upset.
Curtis Vance. Curtis, thank you for watching. He chimes in. Illinois are one of the very few teams in the country to have 0 losses by more than 10. Purdue can't say the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not fact checking. I'll trust you, Curtis. I know you're constantly watching in and chiming in on our show, so We appreciate you watching. I don't think I put a link to our Discord in the chat here in the description. I'll put it up afterwards, but feel free to join. There's some upcoming news that Austin and I will be excited to talk about soon, and it's a way for us to kind of communicate on game day. And it doesn't have to necessarily be on this show, but I'll add that later. Curtis also chimes in. The 4 fouls on Edey that never got called on Hawkins' dunk to the rim. That was a big moment also. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, that was a huge turning point because the second one was a clear foul. There's no one who watches that replay. They showed the replay almost immediately after. It was all hand, zero ball, and Edey just stares down on him. The game is completely different if that's Edey's 4th foul. And we don't have, because Purdue came back and scored a basket there. Like, that's a
Right.
pivotal moment in the game.
Absolutely. And again, if we're boiling it down to, I hate saying that with the game, with the team that we just played, boiling it down. But again, if you just narrow it down to one single possession, this isn't a game that you can be overly upset about. If this happens in late March, in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, as the number 4 seed, and you lose to BYU, then yes, be pissed off all you want. But this is a regular season game that doesn't matter in the grand scheme of the Illinois basketball experience.
But that's
So,
that's the funny part, Austin. You say that, but every Purdue preview, every Purdue fan was telling you that this was our Super Bowl and that it didn't matter for Purdue. But now we've got Purdue fans showing up on Illini cast in a game that supposedly didn't matter for them.
see, they wanted this game more than us. Like, yes, we wanted this game. I will not say that. I will not pretend that.
Yeah,
But
we'll retract
Purdue
that.
wanted this game so much because Terrence Shannon Jr. was in this lineup. He was not suspended like he was in the first matchup in Mackey Arena. So this is kind of like your Philadelphia Eagles versus Kansas City Chiefs in Week 9 of the NFL season, where you wanted revenge and you wanted a game that solidified your own self-esteem issues because you beat us with Terrence Shannon Jr. Congratulations. Will you do it a second time? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe it'll happen in the Big Ten tournament. Maybe it'll happen in the NCAA tournament in the Sweet 16, Elite 8, or hell, even a Final Four. But right now, congratulations. Good work. Good work. You won your Super Bowl. This game ultimately didn't matter for Illinois.
Before we get on to the next point, I did want to bring up our sponsor again. If I can find it, sorry. Where is it? All right, Austin, you got a point while I look this up, so we're not.
Well, I know I want a Riverlands brew right now because you're firing me up.
Yeah. See, the other thing is, to the point that we were just kind of talking about, is fine. Maybe the Purdue staff and team may not. The game may not, in the big picture, have mattered as much for them, just because of the implications. Purdue has already locked in the share of the Big Ten championship. But again, for me, it's just funny hearing these previews and of the Boilermaker fans talking about how they think this game doesn't matter, and we know that's not true because there's no two fan bases right now in college basketball that dislike each other more than the Purdue and Illinois fan bases. Purdue fan, like, that's where they were kind of coaching themselves up to say this game doesn't matter, because then if Illinois wins this game, it's like, well, we told you it doesn't matter. But now
Yeah,
Purdue
we're going to be
wins.
Wisconsin anyway, so why would we care about this matchup?
Yeah, and Purdue wins, and guess who's in our chat rooms right now?
Congratulations, you guys won your Super Bowl because, I mean, yes, Illinois lost in the first round last year in the NCAA tournament, but hey, so did you guys. You lost to a number 16 seed last year. You have so many insecurities right now that you're afraid that Illinois might usurp you by going to the second weekend, and you might be left in the dust in the typical Purdue fashion because Remind me, Purdue fans that are in the chat right now, when was your last Final Four? It was a while ago, right?
Hey, beer lovers! Riverlands Brewing Company, your favorite Chicagoland craft beer friends, are throwing a big party for their 5-year anniversary and hope you can join them. On Saturday, March 23rd, they're releasing the much anticipated barrel aged anniversary stout, Riverlands 5, and their anniversary triple IPA. For those who cannot make the party, you can find Riverlands beer in the Chicagoland area craft beer store. See riverlandsbrewing.com for details. Or for those out of state, you can find limited selections of our beer at tavour.com. Riverlands
Hey,
Brewing Company. Brewery by friends for friends.
hey, Sonny, can we convince Riverlands Brewing Company to have a Purdue Pete Tears IPA? Maybe.
I'll talk to the guy. I try to stop by on the weekends anyway. Michael JB, thank you for chiming in. It's Purdue guards were ice cold assassins in the second. Where were we? Absolutely. I mean, Braden Smith, he made some of those shots, which like it's popular to say or hyperbolic to say those are daggers, but Braden's shots were absolutely daggers. They're just completely clutch. All credit to him. He's a fantastic basketball player.
Absolutely.
John Haim, it's fun to listen to all the whining. Purdue is just better. Case close. Thank you so much, John. Again, we appreciate you chiming into the Illinois show to offer that very constructive feedback.
This isn't
doing the
whining
fan base
either. That's
very
the
proud.
funny part.
This is what I'm saying. Like most of the time, we've been giving credit to Purdue, uh, but again, it's very typical of their fan base, which they like to point at Illinois being a certain way, but we're seeing it live right now. What the kind of stuff that we have to deal with. Curtis Vance once again chimes in. Purdue is better right now with a generational monster. It'll be fun to see how you handle this after the beloved Edie leaves.
I
I
would
mean,
personally like. I know Bardo and Hummel were talking mid game. My mom was texting me during this game, and they said that it would be awesome to see what Kofi Coburn was able to do against Zach Edey, and that's what I would like to see. I mean, nobody in the Big Ten right now. He's kind of enjoying this post hype going on for
yeah.
Illinois for big men in the Big Ten right now. He's the only one left standing. So I would have liked to see him against an Ethan Happ. I would like to see him against a Kofi Coburn. Like these guys who were generational
Guards,
big for their university.
yeah. And again, Edie, like you said, all respect to him, generational, one of the best big men I've ever seen when it comes to college basketball. And while I don't think the drop for Purdue is going to be that bad, like they're still going to be a 20-win team because Matt Painter's a fantastic coach, and a lot of their talent is going to be coming back next year. I know they lose Edie and they lose Lance Jones, but Smith isn't an NBA sized player. So he'll be back. And I know they got Cannon Catchings, which they're very excited about next year as a freshman. But it's a difference between being a very good team with Zach Edey in the middle and just being a very good team and without Zach Edey.
Right.
So it'll be fun to watch. And this rivalry isn't really going to be going anywhere. Peter Saunders responds. Peter, thank you for watching. Fletcher Lawyer has a receding hairline. I wanted to go ahead and read that aloud since I've let a couple of the ones on their side slide. So why not, Fletcher? Or sorry, Peter. Appreciate you, sir. Um, yeah, so we got to win against Iowa now at this point. Just to lock in the number 2 seed. It's not a complete deal breaker if we don't. I haven't looked at
Right.
what the standing or what the bracket is going to look like. I think both Purdue and Illinois. I don't know if you agree with me here, Austin, but I've said this all season long. I don't know how important this Big Ten tournament is to either of our teams. I think it's all about getting you guys rested and ready to go for March because no one's going to remember. Well, we may remember if we win the Big Ten tournament, but right now for both of these programs, and that's Purdue and for Illinois. What's going to matter is what happens when the NCAA tournament starts.
This tournament is more important for a team like Northwestern to prove to themselves that they can compete at the highest level daily and not just every now and then. So for a team like Purdue, for a team like Illinois, they just don't want to get beat the hell out of, where they are going to just be competitive and then really get the best out of themselves for the selection Sunday and for the first and second round to actually enjoy a Sweet 16.
Mm-hmm. Curtis responded, Quincy was hot in the first half. Not sure why Underwood rode with Goody much of the second half. Yeah, Austin referred to this earlier. One of the biggest chains to all this is ruining Quincy game.
Yeah, that first half, I was like, oh my, if Quincy can do this,
Yeah.
then Purdue's in big trouble. But then in the second half, the hot hand was kind of taken away from Illinois.
Mm-hmm. Once again, we have about 14 people watching between all the different platforms. We don't quite have 14 likes on this video, so hit that button if you guys don't mind. Hit that button if you hate Purdue right now. Like we're kind of, or their fan base. Let's just go ahead and pin this on the fan base. The players, coach, I don't mind too much. Uh, but yeah, any final thoughts, Austin? Player of the game. Who's your player of the game?
Player of the game, I've got to give it to Marcus Damask. I mean, even in the loss, I feel like he was such a crucial aspect to what Illinois did. I feel like he was a great offensive player. That sequence where he had Lance Jones back down in the post and then he took on the monster himself, Zach Edey, was just incredible. I've never seen anything like that. So I think those two guys, um, going against those two guys was just awesome to see from Marcus Damask.
I think Damascus is a good choice. I also want to give credit to. I think Coleman Hawkins had a good game. He did. He kind of did everything on the floor. Reading his stats, he had 13 points, 5 of 10 field goals, but he had 9 rebounds and 3 steals. And again, there's no good way to guard Zach Edey, but you can tell he like with the constant swipes, his style of defense of just swiping at the ball kind of annoyed him a bit, and that's really the best case scenario of what you can do nowadays. Nick Burris, Choo Choo Train, Choo Choo Train, Choo Choo Train, Boiler Up. Thank you for your also thoughtful contribution to the chat. Thank you for
I thought
watching.
they were smart. I thought they were like engineering students and all that. Like,
I mean, again, we'll take it. It's while you're here, Curtis and Jeff, or I forget your name. Please subscribe to us if you enjoy watching this Illini content. I'm here. Austin is here a couple times a week. We can give you as much Illini content as you want. But for now, Austin, I think that's probably it for today. We'll possibly recap this game later on this week, and we'll talk a little bit about the Iowa game and how important it's going to be moving forward. I think it'll kind of depend on whoever Northwestern is playing next. So let's just hope that Northwestern loses and the Iowa game doesn't matter so much on Saturday. But final thoughts.
just great job, Illini, even in the loss. Couldn't be more proud of the effort. A couple bounces a different way. Illinois is winning this game, and Purdue loses their Super Bowl. So
Mhm.
um, I, I can't be too mad again. Like, I think that's the theme of this episode is can't be too mad at this effort. Purdue didn't score 95 points. It was a pretty standard Big Ten operating procedure game, and Illinois just ended up on the short side of the stick. So again, can't be too upset.
All right, so we'll wrap it up with a couple more thoughts real quick. Curtis Vance, this is the best Coleman has played a true 5 man in a while. Yeah, it's funny. He's kind of gotten destroyed when he's being asked to play bigger guys solo, but arguably his best solo game was against Edey right now, at least tonight. Finger Sleeve says Purdue fans should strive to be as classy as their coach. Yeah, I mean that's just
Just slick back your hair and you're already there.
It's yeah. So I'll leave with this one. I know we've been going back and forth. Russ Johnson once again. Again, no hard feelings. It's just post game. He says, bottom line, good game. A rematch in the Big Ten tournament or NCAA tournament will be turned up to 11 and maybe the game of the year.
I agree with that.
I agree with that. So
Solidarity
I think,
that in the best game of the year. That would be awesome.
and I think we should end it there because, with some positive vibes moving forward. Again, me personally, and I think Austin, you agree with me, and I'm glad to hear that. I don't really feel negative about this game. I think it was well, it's a good battle back and forth. For me, my biggest thing I'm happy about is just to see the defense kind of return a little bit today.
Yeah,
And if we can keep that up and continue being the offensive team that we are, then despite the 6 point loss today to Purdue, in my own perception of our ceiling, has raised considerably in March. And that's going to be it for now. Thank you all for watching. We will, again, like I said, we'll check in with you guys later on this week. But for now, ILL.
I thank you